everyone. I'm Tony Abetamarco, co-artistic director of Skylight Theatre Company, and on behalf of our staff and all our participating artists, we want to welcome you to this last presentation of Skylight Live for 2020. Rest assured, we'll be back in January, continuing to do what we've been doing since late March, presenting original and diverse material pertinent to the times we're in, as well as this unforgiving but lovely place. We've been able to keep our virtual doors open thanks to the literally thousands of viewers who tune in, and especially I want to give a shout out to our donors, our viewers who have donated, who are tuning in today and have tuned in. We want to express our thanks. You have helped by expressing yours, by donating through the year or on this week's Giving Tuesday. You've helped and encouraged us so much, for which we're very grateful. You can continue that by Venmoing us now or through our website, skylighttheatre.org. So let's see, what else do I have to tell you? Of course, I have to tell you about today's presentation. Again, We Awaken. In recognition of World AIDS Day, written and performed by QueerWise, directed by Michael Kearns, and supported in part by Broadway Cares, Equity Fights AIDS, Spoken Interludes Next, and through a grant from the James Irvine Foundation. This particular tradition is a continuation of what we've been doing thanks to the initiation of Michael Kearns, and we're honored to present it each year, as we have for the last decade. Please stick around afterwards for a Q&A with Michael, head writer Robin Podolsky, and several members of the QueerWise cast. When you can put your questions or reactions in the chat, and we'll try and address everybody. So now, without further ado, please enjoy. Again, We Awaken.
From 1976 until 1992, Broadway was my professional home. There is nothing, I mean nothing, more exciting than sitting in a sold-out audience at the St. James Theatre, basking in the glow of the Julie Stein overture to Gypsy. Bum, 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 bum. Sadly, today, there are no overtures, no performers, no audiences. There are times I'm overwhelmed with sadness when I think of all of the people who are not working. Will the phantom ever return? Don't we need the wisdom of the founding fathers in Hamilton? Oh, sure. There's that huge billboard proclaiming, Hugh Jackman in The Music Man, opening on Broadway in February 2022. This is the second time a virus has devastated a world that I love.
Why have so many friends become so thin?
Our leadership has lost its mind, taking away our social services and stirring up racist hatred while we sicken and die.
Why am I coughing so hard? I feel like I'm gonna puke.
What are those spots on their faces?
On the night I turned 60. My sleep was unsettled with frequent and abrupt awakenings. And when deeper sleep finally came, the dreamscape of ghosts appeared, screeching with fury and fire. The ghosts bled darkness and scars. I battled to rid my house of these terrifying spirits, begged and then commanded them to leave, determined to banish them. But then I invited the ghosts to stay, if they opted for peace in my home. My conviction deepened, and I felt a sense of power as they quieted. Glimmers of light, whispers of sound, and soft winds entered the dream, and I was surrounded by other ghosts, welcoming and loving. When I awoke, the ghosts of my dream had changed. I still felt them, but they were at peace.
Just like COVID, AIDS started slowly. Gay men would get extremely sick and die quick, horrible deaths. Every day you hear someone say, oh my God, Did you know so-and-so's in the hospital? Or he was only 28 when he died. I was the stage manager of La Cage aux Folles, and our musical family was devastated by AIDS. But AIDS didn't close down Broadway. Today, the streets and all of the stages are silent.
Other ghosts visit me at times, shadows of dear family, friends, pets, and other loved ones. Gary, an early victim of the COVID crisis, was gone in a flash before most of us even knew he was ill. I also see so many ghosts of the 80s and 90s, like Wade, the activist of endless charm and charisma, Ronnie, who danced on stages and then into the heavens way too soon, Deborah and Linda and other braved ones who shared their stories publicly when few women did, my beloved friend Keith, who I think of and miss every day. I lie in bed in the quiet of night and I try to see and feel and hear them. When it's my time to go, I wonder who will welcome me in as a ghost? Who will let me stay? In a wisp of light, a whoosh of sound, or a puff of air, I will be there.
I look forward to the day when I can say, ladies and gentlemen, this is your stage manager. Places, please, for Act 1. Places, please.
I watched a lot of TV when I was a kid, the only child of older Southern Black parents, not allowed to mix unsupervised with the children running free in the streets of our Northern Black ghetto. Circus Boy was one of my favorite shows. Little Corky, who grew up to be Mickey Dolenz of the Monkees, was an only child too, but he got to live in the circus with his Uncle Joey and had his very own baby elephant. Yes, Corky's circus was one of the places I could happily escape to. Why not? I figured out why not when I slowly began to see that all those people on TV weren't just light-skinned Black people like my mother. All the stories I saw and heard, except for the ones told around our kitchen table with people we knew, were all populated by people who were white. The shock set in with the biting realization that Corky's circus was a white circus. Corky was white. I was not white. So I was not there at all. Whatever narrative gave you your sense of yourself in the world, whichever quirky circus captured your imagination, that narrative helped frame your consciousness, your way of incorporating every experience that followed. If the dominant white culture that created your quirky circus was your culture, you never knew that the narrative was made with only you in mind, and that your playground was fenced off with a sign that said, whites only.
We are not all living the same story or the same pandemic.
You just knew that Corky's circus looked normal without people like me. If I or someone like me appeared, there would have to be some narrative explanation to make it happen. And soon along the story arc, the mismatched characters would dissolve into white and everything would become normal again.
It is not the same pandemic for everyone.
Corky's circus was the narrative we both had to work with, and it shaped your vision of the world and my vision of myself. You belonged. I needed a rationale. Eventually, even in my own imagination, I made myself a different person who wouldn't disrupt the narrative with my existence. In Corky's circus, I would be miraculously dyed white.
Queer people with HIV, working people with no health care benefits, Black and brown people living near the factories and freeways where the air is already poisoned.
There is no action affirmative enough, no amount of integration sufficient to fundamentally change the germinal narratives of an old society reared on racism. In a new society, we would see that Corky's circus is cruel to baby elephants. Confess that the tendrils of racism are entwined around the taproots of the narrative. Dig deep, very deep. the tree may die.
We can't breathe.
And then we begin at start. Start is a long way down, and the tree of our branching narratives of old meanings is tall. As a new sapling sprouts, legends will arise that speak to who we believe we are becoming next. Heroes will emerge, and villains too. Some new narrator will find the seeds left behind from whatever remains of who we were when the taproots were ripped out.
This election has inflections of a disconnection of humanity. The disrespect of different skin, of the manner of dress that clothes the skin, of loving who you love, of praying to who you pray. How does one close closet doors but not check for the monster under the bed? Instead, make demons out of human beings. Make human beings gods. Gods are men who haven't been shot down. Or rather, do the shooting down. We drown in our own blood and paint our flag with it. Call it patriotism, like apple pie, like baseball. We've dropped the ball as we grab them by the genitals. As we grab them by fear speech and terror tactics. This didactic is dangerous. And to be honest, I'm scared of us and what we've become. And who we might be. I'm scared for the people who look like me. I'm hopeful for a better time, but we better be careful with this next one. We better not forget the harm that was done. Look, it's gonna get ugly before it gets pretty. But pretty people still turn to dust, so we must try for kind. And we must try for life. This is the beginning of a new time. So let's be radical, let's be resplendent, let's be real, let's sing in this reign of terror, let's try to help and heal, and maybe then we'll find peace.
I can't
breathe.
I can't
I
breathe.
can't
We
I
breathe.
can't breathe.
I can't breathe.
Barreling down a desolate country road. It's incredibly dark because the streetlights are far apart. Occasionally, the light of the moon, when it's not obscured by clouds, illuminates the bumpy road in front of us. He drives confidently, a mischievous smirk on his face, as I anxiously watch rows of cornfields whiz past us in the opposite direction. He's driving backwards. I glance behind us. The road is empty. No headlights in the distance. Everyone is sequestered at home. What time is it? What town is this? I recognize this country road. I think there's an intersection of 4 corners up ahead. But are we in upstate New York or Fresno, California off the 5? He laughs, and with his left hand, he assuredly turns the wheel. We make a sharp right up the hill. He parks the car at the top, and the town below us spreads out over the plains. A baseball field is lit below us. Why is it lit when no one is playing baseball? He turns on the radio, and the dashboard lights up like my grandfather's old Chevy. The radio announcer's voice, it sounds distant, as if he's broadcasting from the middle of the field. I turn to Mark, or is it Michael? His blonde hair falling into his eyes. He smiles, and his eyes reflect the moonlight. I know this guy. Is this Michael, my coworker who disappeared suddenly? Or is it Ken, my teenage crush? He leans over and unbuttons my shirt. Should we be doing this? There's a virus spreading as far and wide as the dark plains below us. He may be the last person that I touch. He kisses my lips. The radio announcer plays a jazz song. I think it's Ella. Or is it Nina? Hey, we should be sheltering in place, I whisper. He pulls me towards him, undoes another button. We are, he says.
Stories upon stories, and still not enough beds. Numbers beyond imagining. Not enough doctors, enough medicine, enough masks, enough human decency. We have seen this before.
Stacy! Oh my God. It's so good to hear your voice. It's been so long. I know, it's been forever. I know. Hey, you wouldn't believe it. I just went to the store for the first fucking time. Yeah, it was so scary. And you know what? Everyone was wearing masks. It was okay. So, all right, wait, I got to tell you what happened. Okay.
COVID-19, you've taken everything from me like a mugger on the street. For a week, I was okay. And then the rain came, soft at first, and then pounding on my windows. I closed my door and pulled the shades. Colored lights lit up dark corners of my apartment. I burned incense and tried to write.
So I go out, I set the house alarm, go out the door, out the screen door, make sure the doors are shut, lock the door, except, God damn it, I don't have my keys. Where the fuck are my keys? Go back inside, undo the alarm, and why do I keep talking to myself? Who knows? Who cares? I'm a great conversationalist.
After a week, I turned to the bottle. Noon happy hour was all the rage at Casa del Mio. I taught myself new dance moves. I invented new cocktails. I sang at the top of my lungs. I even worked out, all the while sipping a drink. And never once did I spill a drop anywhere but in my mouth.
So I go back inside. Where the fuck are my keys? In the bathroom? Nope. In the kitchen? Nope. Okay, wait. On the end table? Why the hell did I put them there? I never put them on the end table. Okay, geez. So, all right. Go back, set the alarm. Bye, Bodie. Say goodbye. Yeah, whatever. Okay, I go out the door, out the screen door. Key in the lock. Done. The house is locked up.
There are strange new emotions brought on by this pandemic that I've found hard to name. Alcohol had no wisdom, and TV was simply a distraction. So I went into silence. Stuck in my apartment, I closed the shades and began to meditate and pray for guidance.
Purse, alarm, doors, key in lock. Filthy, dirty car. Get back inside the car. Door, seat, push button. The car starts right up. Woohoo!
The rain eventually dried up, and I opened my shades once more. The sun came out, and I began to walk in the warmth. Random strangers said hello. The smell of jasmine danced in the air. Babies cooed. Dogs barked. And since the sound of traffic was gone, I could even hear the sound of birds singing.
My groceries await me. The hungry hunter-gatherer out and about, ready for fucking anything, especially another bottle of wine, because you know I'm out of wine. All right. That's my day. How was your day?
We do what we can. Protect the heart, protect the body. Condoms then, masks now. Safer sex then, Zoom now. Marching then, marching now. Some things are the same. Some things will never be the same again.
We stumble outdoors like liberated prisoners. It was a shock to see apartment buildings, asphalt, concrete, all magically new to us, to feel sidewalk under our shoes, to smell green things. In our absence, what lives outside had overflowed our limits. New cracks in sidewalks sprouted long grass. Cattails rose over our heads, stroking our hair. Impudent coyotes strolled the streets, indifferent and unafraid. Crows called warnings, heralding our return.
There is an online real-time map of the California West Coast fires blowing smoke toward Hawaii. I dreamt of this years ago while I was still living in the Bay Area. The apocalypses vary. Earthquakes, floods, fires, race war, pandemic. The message of the dream was always the same. Leave. Leave now. Don't look back. Get to higher ground. There's little to no housing inventory left on Hawaii Island since the pandemic. Tech bros and well-to-do pros allowed to work remotely are paying cash above asking price for inexpensive property sight unseen. COVID allows the haves to work remotely. The have-nots, mostly brown folks born, raised, and of Hawaii, there's no higher ground for them. There is no remote work. There are no unemployment benefits. There are only multi-generational families packed tight in marginal dwellings and what comes with more settlers coming to Moku o Keawe to live out paradise fantasy in beach parks and gated communities. We all see the same breathtaking patterns and colors of Puna sunrise and Kona sunsets. There is no level playing field, but there are still moments of beauty amid apocalypse. Blinding smoke is heading our way.
We had not all been indoors the whole time. Names were written on sidewalks in large chalk letters. George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, and above them all, I can't breathe. My neighbor and I head down the hill, joining others to take over Sunset Boulevard, chanting, Black lives, they matter. Here, the signs they are carrying are pure Silver Lake, strippers for Black lives, next to a quote from the Talmud. If not now, when? This year, I joined my QueerWise comrades in a pride march that is actually a protest march, and actually in the city of Los Angeles, led by queers of color. This newness reaches back to old beginnings, Stonewall times. We continue to emerge, blinking in the unforgiving sun. What has changed? What is the same?
Enough, enough, enough.
Whose fucking streets?
Our fucking streets.
This is what
democracy looks like.
When we take democracy, when we do justice, when we love kindness, when love and fury become what we do, not just what we feel.
Wear masks. Make art matter. Stop telling your life story on social media. Cough on riot police. Instigate Zoom group sex. Summon Colin Eldert's Breonna Taylor and George Floyd in seance. Grow food and medicine. Swim across the Pacific. Don't look back. Become the sky.
Be radiant in the reign of terror.
Give my regards to Broadway. Remember me to Herald Square.
As a queer white cisgender male, I vow to keep evolving and become a better ally to my queer brothers and sisters of color.
Welcome peaceful ghosts into your home.
Become a revelation.
Find your allies. Be an accomplice.
Create your own dance party and wave to strangers. Woo!
Again,
We
We
awaken.
awaken.
Here we are. Michael, there you are. and we are in your kitchen and in my cockpit. You're muted right now, but that was profound. And I'm looking forward to everybody joining us in a moment. I see, and I think you can probably see him as well. Michael is putting on his something. So that was again We Awaken, and it was performed by the writers of QueerWise, and found it very moving. This is my first exposure to it. Usually I get a chance to actually be there, be present for rehearsals when we're in the theater doing these presentations live. But this year I've been sequestered in my home, and so this is my first exposure to that. And really, I found that it was so moving to be moving back and forth, telescoping into the experience and telescoping out again from the minutia of daily experience to the environment, the political scene, the world. And I thought that was extraordinary in how all these writers delved into those points of view. So as soon as we can, I'd like to have everyone join us. Michael, are you ready to go?
I'm ready.
This is Michael Kearns, who initiates this project every year for us and helps to guide it, and direct it, etc. So Michael, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure to share the screen.
My heart's pounding always when I watch it, and afterwards and before and during.
Yeah. And, lots of wonderful things in terms of the cutaways to the visuals, to be able to see some of I'm assuming some of those photographs were actually taken by each one of the writers themselves.
Right, and some of them are in them, their younger selves and their current selves.
Yeah.
They're so personal, and their friends who died. And so it really personalized it. I mean, who would know that this medium, whatever it's called, would lend itself to such personalization that goes beyond the written word?
Yeah. Well, as we know, and we've all agreed, this is, we're all living in close-up when it comes to Zoom right now. So
exactly,
so it helps to be able to see panoramas and to see photographs from the past, etc. And I think that's something else that this accomplished, was the going back and coming forward. The going back to we're almost framed by the parentheses of two viruses.
Well, these people particularly, I mean, that's what they share. I mean, our younger member doesn't, Aliana, but she gets it. She really gets it organically. Yeah. And that was the thing that we shared, living in not one, but two plagues in our lifetime is pretty unusual.
It's very unusual. And as you and I both know, that the first one began more specifically in terms of our community, but eventually it fanned out to include the world. And this one began with the world right out of the gate. So it's a real profound experience to look back, but also to compare the differences between the two.
Yeah. We had no idea when we started. You sort of run out of, but we've been down the age road so many times when we try to recontextualize it, or how do we look at it from a different angle? Well, this time it was pretty easy in a certain way. Once we came up with the idea of comparing the two, it just flowed. The comparisons, there were more comparisons than, there were more similarities than there were differences.
Yeah. And, you captured that in the title, again, We Awaken. And can you tell us about some of the exercises that you did with the group, and Robin did with the group?
Robin did most of them. I wish she was here. She chose most of them. You know, we get them out of the newspaper. I mean, we read the paper that day, the day before, that we meet every Monday night, and we find them there. We find them in magazines. We'll glom onto anything, NPR, what people are talking about, and then we bring them in. Individual stories that people tell will just say, "Oh, this happened to a husband and wife, blah, 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 blah. Let's write about that. Let's write about this." And then we just pick and choose them, you know, and throw them in the pot, mix and stir. But no, she analyzes every single story, as do I, and then we decide how to make them flow. A lot of these stories were completely from, like David Trudell's, it's completely from the imagination, you know, I mean, which is great. Some of these stories had a sort of ghostly, dreamlike quality that were clearly, you know, based on dreams and fear. You know, they're really kind of oddly scary, the tone of this, where the other pieces we've done on AIDS are largely autobiographical. You know, the whole evening seems to be or afternoon seems to be autobiographical, but this one goes into a different, almost Twilight Zone-ish sometimes, you know.
Yeah, and it very effectively. I mean, I found that, you know, it encompassed so many of the things that my days encompass, whether it's, you know, the simple activities and tasks that I set out for myself, but memory coming back, dreams infiltrating, you know, all of that.
Lots about dreams.
You know,
they don't have the link. This is my fault, I guess.
You mean our writers don't have the link?
Have the link. I sent them a link, I swear to God. We have time, don't we? Do we have people out there asking questions?
No specific questions yet. So you and I can continue to chat this up a little bit.
What is the link? Can somebody just read it to me so I don't go looking for it?
I don't have it handy.
Does Garrett?
If Garrett probably does, and if he can.
God, okay.
I'm not seeing it.
Is there a way to, Garrett, can you send it to Robin?
Oh, here it is. Here it is.
Tony, can you read it to me? This is good doing this in
I know.
real time.
Well, here we go. It's HTTPS colon /
just a minute. colon
/ two of them.
Yeah.
And then us, as in US, 02 web
02 WEB, yeah.
.zoom.us. This must be fascinating for the audience.
I'm sure it is. They're seeing how old I am.
/ J.
Yes.
/ and here's a long number. 8679 7322 386. That's the whole shebang.
I'm going to read it to you. If the shebang is right, will be a miracle. 8 HTTPS //US02 web period Zoom period us /J /86797322386.
Brilliant. Amazing. Good.
They're coming.
Oh, good.
All right. My goodness. Thank you.
I'm going to read that. Yes.
Oh, my goodness. Hi.
Please talk about the process of constructing this show. Was it edited in advance? Was any of it live?
Oh, no, none of it was. I know it's meticulously edited and put together. No, none of it's live. I'm glad you thought so if they were that convincingly speaking to you. But no, it's meticulously edited. Corey.
Hi, Corey.
Someone here is here to talk.
You can unmute yourself, Corey. I think you're muted right now.
Let's ask Corey some questions.
He's
Corey,
unmuting.
He's beautifully speaking to you. But no, it's meticulously edited. Corey.
Hi, Corey.
Hi.
So, Corey, this experience, I mean,
Let's ask Corey some questions.
so you know, I loved, I mean, I'm in love with the whole notion of ghosts in our life. And I love that you, can you hear me? Yeah, I love that you dealt with that. There's Robin. Hi.
Let's ask Corey some questions.
So you know, I loved, I mean, I'm okay. I think are we okay now? I think we're okay. So Corey, do you want to talk a little bit about that? About ghosts?
About ghosts in general.
Yeah, I mean, you detailed it beautifully in the piece. So I just I feel like we're right now, especially we're living with the presence of them in our lives very much, and I tend to think that they're friendly, but they're angels in a way. So is there anything that you felt really helped you sort of go in that direction?
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I tend to think they're friendly too. I'm always interested in that sort of idea, and I sort of believe in a version of ghosts, and I really did dream of that on my 60th birthday. And then there was actually somebody I knew who passed on my 60th birthday, which I found the next day, and that was the original genesis of the piece. And then it got sort of transformed a little bit because we wanted to pull in some of the memories of people who had died of AIDS, and I was in that world. I was a caseworker years ago and did some other stuff. So yeah, so all of that was sort of coming into play for me. And yeah, there's a lot more I could say about that, but I'd love to hear what Jim and Robin have to say too.
Yeah, no, I very appreciate what you have to say about it, both in your writing and now. Robin, hi, and Jim, welcome. You're both on mute, so if you need to talk, please do. Please unmute yourselves. Robin and Jim, you're both unmuted, so hi.
Hi.
Thank you for your beautiful work. And Jim, you took us back. I mean, I didn't realize that you were stage managing La Cage, so that was really a blast from the past for me. And talking about the devastation from that time again, reaching into the past is something that I think this pandemic has made a daily practice for a lot of us. So, is there anything you want to add to what you've already beautifully said?
Well, it just, of course, brings back a lot of memories, many of them not pleasant memories. But for me, the writing or the genesis of all this was the fact that two of the worlds that I've worked in, Broadway and education, because I taught for the last 15 years, both of those venues are now empty. There's nobody in the classrooms and there's nobody in the theaters. And so that sense of loss, that sense of isolation, it's kind of unimaginable. I mean, to me, that Broadway is empty and all these schools are empty too. So
yeah, no, agreed. I keep reflecting on that and keep having conversations about it. That all our cultural go-to places, museums, theaters, movies, restaurants. Without them, I mean, I've heard a lot of people, my friends in New York, say, what is New York without those? It's concrete and emptiness. And it's very strange, that the loss of those things is profound.
And also what the Skylight, all the theaters here are going through, but the number of jobs, the number of employment is staggering. I mean, it's not just the actors, the backstage, the restaurants that supply them, the dry cleaners that clean the costumes. It's the number of people affected by this is astounding.
It is astounding. It is. Hi, welcome. Nice to see you. Glad. Sorry for the late link.
It's all my fault.
We'll blame Michael. Robin or Lucia, do you want to have anything? Beautiful piece, both of you, each of you. Robin, you dealt with the environment in such an interesting way, you know, in the changes in our external environment. And that was really something. And of course, you know, the importance of Black lives right now, and you know, Corky's circus. Oh my God. I mean, how representation was so skewed for so long, and how necessary it is now for that to change. And I thank you for that. That was beautiful.
And you know, I think my piece and Robin's piece, I think, may have come from the same prompt, which had to do with what needs to change, or what is the same and what needs to change.
Yeah,
That's the question we kept coming back to. You heard it as a kind of chorus in the piece. What is different? What's still the same?
Yeah, yeah. And I love that. That's that, you know, that perspective is one I'm asking myself every day. And so I love that you took the deep dive, all of you, into those questions. Anything, Robin, you want to, you as a head writer on this, you were steering a lot of these prompts, etc. So is there anything that you felt particularly strong about in following through with everyone? Or
I mean, I was really lucky because everybody is so attuned.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, this was an incredibly strong group of writers, and everyone was willing to go to the hard places. Everybody was willing to engage their feelings and brain and soul. And so it was actually a question of an embarrassment of riches. I mean, there's so much material that we could do a whole other play with. People wrote such amazing things.
Within a session, for example, did you start with a prompt, write, and then break and read what each person? You did. Which is shaking her head. So
that's how our process starts. Michael or I will come with a prompt. People will write on site, and we're sort of together on Zoom at the moment. We don't meet physically any longer, which is great because we get to meet with Joelle from Hawaii and people all over the place.
Yeah.
So,
hi, David. Welcome back. Yeah, and were there any nights where where the conversation after the writing was almost revelatory, or were there things that were almost too much to bear? I would imagine at this point that some of that could have been part of the process.
Well, definitely the conversations, and I'd be interested to hear what the other writers have to say about that. In terms of too much to bear, I mean, one thing about this group, I mean, is our hearts have had quite a workout. I mean, reaching all the way back to HIV/AIDS and before.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, all of us in our various ways have been dealing with the issues raised in this piece for, you know, most of our lives.
Yeah.
And part of it is the fellowship, is the comradeship that we have with one another too. That we're, you know, even we might be writing at home, but we can see one another on Zoom, and we can share our work. And so this has become also a kind of a support group for folks. But I want to hear what everyone else has to say about that.
Yeah. So anyone, feel free to jump in, take yourself off mute and jump in. We're so happy to have you joining us in this conversation.
I think the revelation for me was that it all came together. I mean, half the time we were all swimming around saying, now, which pieces should we send? What are you doing? How does this, how does it all fit, connect? And we're just throwing stuff against the wall, and Robin's picking it up and sewing it together. And when it came together, I was like, oh my God, it actually does work.
Yeah.
It does.
They actually do fit.
Yep.
There's a collective sewing machine to pick up on your analogy. And that's Robin and me sometimes. I mean, it's a big trust, you know, that you have to believe in the process and believe in each other, which you do, whether you think you do all the time or not. And I don't think I do all the time, but there's something that goes on in that room and we all know it. And it does coalesce, you know, how many years? 10 years. 10 years we've been together.
Although your membership has it morphs.
Fluctuates, very much so. Like
grows and shrinks
our newest, she just left. Where'd you go? Come back, come back. She's our youngest. You know, we recently opened. Well, David was one of our first younger ones. I mean, not that young, but
I used to be. I used to be
than the rest of us. But so, you know, we started getting younger and younger. We encourage anybody out there. We encourage younger people now because, you know, the world has changed and we want younger people. We want, you know, a variety of people, as we've made very clear. So, but yes, our demographic has changed deliberately. And that just opens us. I mean, I think today's show was richer because we had, you know, Aliana. I think it made it, just gave it a different tone because
I hope she'll come back.
There she is.
There she is. There she is.
I was saying that you gave the show a different tone today.
Thank you.
And we are so happy to have you involved.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. It was lovely being here, being around everyone. I believe it was the first meeting. I was just super happy because I think I can confidently say I'm like the youngest person in this year's iteration of QueerWise. And it was super cool because like growing up, because of like the AIDS epidemic and a bunch of stuff, like a lot of like queer elders are not around and just like not here. And it was really cool to be in a space with queer people who were older than me and just to be able to like hear you guys' stories and just like be in your virtual presence. It was really wonderful to just be invited in this space. I had a wonderful time.
Well, you're very welcome, and we're so happy that you're a part of this. Thank you. And David, yours, you know, you've been a stalwart sort of QueerWise person for a while. Anything you want to add from your point of view, or?
Yeah, I mean, this was a very, this whole new process was a little challenging for all of us, I think. You know, we're very used to being on the stage. And the one thing is, once you got used to this new way of doing the show, you realize, oh, the only thing that's changed is that we're not on the stage. You still have to deal with technical issues, lighting, the whole thing, right? You're just not on the stage in front of the director anymore. Now you're remote. But I think in general, though, for this particular show, I feel like even like, for example, my piece is a dream piece. And like Michael was saying, you have to kind of trust the process. And I thought, you know, we all submitted, you know, tons of material for this. And then when I saw that my dream piece made it, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Well, how does that fit? And so, and then you see the tapestry that is woven and how it kind of fits the larger, you know, the larger show. And so, and I think that's the beauty of this.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes people may say, well, why did you choose that piece over? And then when you finally see the finished product, you realize, okay, now I know how it fits.
And then Gary had you having whiplash in addition to.
Oh yeah, and then Gary had me act it out in my kitchen here.
So great. I mean, just so great. I couldn't believe it worked the way it did. I mean,
he means folks. Gary Grossman, a director associated with Skylight Theatre, who is incredibly generous with his time and so perceptive in helping us move from the stage to Zoom. I mean, really spot on and so helpful.
We all rely on Gary for his insights and he's always so smart and getting right to the heart of things. So that's
and they were so responsive, you know. I mean, they were so sweet and so responsive and so diligent that it was just, every one of them so thankful, so polite. I was so proud. I was such a proud parent.
And also, just as a stage manager, a shout out to Garrett for his
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Oh my
technical
God.
expertise.
Yeah.
And
Working
guidance
till all
through.
hours the last few days.
I know.
You can only imagine the
We
work.
And Garrett, for holding the calm. You were such a sweet, calming presence.
So I have to say
There.
also that this is for our audience that isn't aware of the sort of machinations backstage. This is sort of an example of what Skylight really prides itself on best. The development of work that we get to show, and this and with multiple writers as part of this coalition of creative people and forces, it's really what Skylight is all about, is being able to develop new work. And here we get to do it with a terrific group of writers who've taken the deep dive, each and every one of you. So it's really a privilege to be listening to you and watching you work, and to share it with the audience, because it's very much at the heart of our mission. So thank you. And also, under the banner of World AIDS Day and Equity Fights AIDS, it's very, very important and really special. So any final words from anyone? Yes, Corey.
I just want to say, under the banner of World AIDS Day, I mean, maybe more than ever, the format that we did this in is sort of like a literal visual quilt. I mean, even looking at us now, it sort of looked that way. And the way the whole thing was, a lot of people have mentioned things being woven together, stitched together.
Oh, you're right.
Really,
It's true. So
so it really sort of felt that way. And, that may sound corny, but maybe in this medium, we really sort of had that representation of a quilt, which is so associated with World AIDS Day, and
Yeah,
I thought that was kind of cool. Yeah.
That's great, Corey. That's really wonderful.
I would like
Thank you.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, please, Robin.
Well, we're in this strange liminal space. It's December now. The horror of the pandemic, and then this life force coming out of it, this uprising for Black lives, has put us in a new place. Now we're in a tipping place. The election was presumably won. God willing, we're actually going to have a different administration, one that will be on one hand supportive, on the other hand that we're going to have to carry on our backs into new territory. All of the lessons that we excavated in this production, we're still going to need to be moving forward and still needing to be putting it into practice. I mean, none of this is done, right? There's still the pandemic. There's still death at the hands of law enforcement. There's still, and at the same time, there's still community and tremendous hope in this amazing grassroots movement.
Yeah.
To rise up as one. I just hope we move forward.
We do, and I think we are stronger. I hold that as sort of my motto for each day. We're stronger. We're stronger for it. It's been hard, but and it will continue to be. But I think we are. So again, thank you profoundly from all of us at Skylight, and I want to say to all of our audience, thank you for being here, and please have healthy, sane, centered, and generous holidays. Even if you're in isolation, please know that there are people who rely on the connection and your presence. So keep that in mind as you continue into these holidays. There's a series of them back to back, as we all know. So thank you. And again, thanks for donating. We're going to be back. Skylight will be back in January for sure. We'll be working behind the scenes, but we'll be presenting once again in January, and there'll be much more to come in the new year. We've been privileged to have this initiative to keep moving our work forward and connecting with you, the audience. So it's a pleasure. So happy holidays, everyone, and bless us, everyone. Thanks. Thank you, beautiful writers. Mwah.